Greetings, Guzzlers. Not really the right beer for my tonight's meal. We're going Vietnamese. Perhaps I should have had lager, but I'm not anyway. And we're doing like a stir fry. So you're going to need your wok. And actually, talking of wok, this is another school of wok recipe. We're going Vietnamese. We're making lemongrass chicken. Okay, and we're just having this as it is. You can do as usual with your accompaniments. We're going to accompany it with lemongrass chicken. Now the first thing we're going to do is create like a curry paste, because we're going to take a small amount of that to marinate our chicken. Or marinate? Is it marinate? Marinate? Who goes? Who knows? I think I need a beer to decide. To marinate our chicken. So we'll start with the paste, and for that you're going to want some spring onions. Some of these spring onions are a bit small. In his recipe he talks about using 3, but they're quite big ones. So I've got a bunch of trimmed, I'll be chopping that a bit sharp, spring onions. I've got 2 lemongrass stalks. Tell you a bit about lemongrass in a minute. You're not getting away from a little bit of a lesson, you know. A red chilli. Now if you've got a large red chilli, half of it in the paste. I've got 2 small, so I'm going to put 1 in it. Some fresh root ginger, a couple of inches worth. 3 or more cloves of garlic. You want some ground turmeric. Now if you've got turmeric root, you can use that, a couple of inches of that. If not, we'll be just using, how much of that is it? About half a teaspoon of turmeric. And then you want some lime leaves. Now preferably you want fresh lime leaves. But, well, couldn't get any. So we've got dried. You're going to want some lime leaves later. You're also going to want some Thai basil. You're going to want an onion, a little bit of chicken stock, some oil, cook it in, light soy sauce. Oh, I don't know why that's out, I don't want that. And some fish sauce. I think that's more or less it. Oh, and also, like I say, some more chilli just as a garnish. Traditionally you would make your paste in a mortar and pestle, but because that's going to, especially with these woody stems, we're going to use our blender. So let's get making the paste. We're going to start by roughly chopping our chilli and putting that into our blender, not the stalk. You will then want to take your garlic, give it a bit of a mash, and then we're just going to roughly chop that, and that will go in the blender. Obviously the blender's going to blitz it, but we want to give it a little bit of head start, don't we? Now this is a Vietnamese dish. He says getting it all over every bloody where, except in the bleeding blender. Don't you try and escape spring onion, you're going in whether you like it or not. And it has this citrusy flavour, mainly from the lemongrass, but also you will get an element of it if you've got the old lime leaves. Okay, in goes my ginger. Now lemongrass is a type of grass. Okay, comes from sort of that region of, well, I'll say that region, it comes from sort of Asia. There's sort of different types, and some of that does depend on which part of Asia you're from, but lemongrass isn't just used in cooking, as probably some of you know. Right, then the next thing is I'm going to take them spring onions, and again we're just going to roughly chop them, and I'm going to chuck them in there. The lemongrass, what we're going to do with that give it a bit of a bashing because they're obviously quite woody, and then we just want to finely chop that. Obviously, again, it's going in the blender. Now, the name, well, it's called lemongrass because of the citrusy sort of flavour and aroma that comes from it, and that's from sort of some of the oils you get from it. But its actual sort of classification name, if you like, is Kimbopogon citratus. And the Kimbopogon comes from two Greek words. One, the first bit, the kimbo, which is a derivative of kimbe, which in Greek is, I've got to get this round the right way, that is meaning boat, and the pogon means beard. And you might think, what on earth has that got to do with that funny little thing that I've just put in there? Well, it's because it sort of resembles these hairs or spikelets coming out of a boat-shaped thing. Okay? Don't ask me where they get that from, I don't know. But that's what they say. So that's where the name comes from. Now, as well as being used in food like we are, and the next thing I want to do, by the way, is I want my ground turmeric. And I said I'm adding to that half a teaspoon of turmeric. In that goes. And then our lime leaves. Now, if you've got fresh lime leaves, what you want to do, and I might do it with some of these. Now, I'm going to keep some of them because I need some of them in a bit. Is the stalks can be a bit woody, so I'm sort of removing them. So I was saying it was citrusy flavour and such like, but it's also used particularly as an insecticide. It's particularly good in sprays and soaps and candles and things like that, to get rid of mosquitoes and midges, but equally it can repel other insects. Hence the reason you get citronella candles and things like that to put out when you're sitting out in the garden and you want to avoid getting bitten by things. Right, so that's all in there. So all we can now do is get that in that blender and give it a good blitzing. Now, although this is developing into a bit of a paste, it is still quite thick, if you like. So I've got here prepared a little bit of chicken stock, and I'm just going to add a small amount of that chicken stock, and then we're going to carry on. We want a paste. We're not making a sauce, but we do want to obviously try and get it wet enough that we can coat the chicken with it. So I did add a little bit more stock, and you can now see that we have got something that's not runny, but it is at least a paste, and then we'll better do our chicken with. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to just take this onion. I'm just going to peel it. Now, he suggests half a brown onion, but I'm going to use this whole one because actually I've got a little bit more chicken here than he's got. Hence I also perhaps made a little bit more paste than I needed. So I'm just going to peel this, and then we're just going to slice this up, okay, into thin slices, and then I'm just going to then finely slice my chilli, put that to one side, and then at least apart from the chicken, that is all. Well, actually no, I might have to chop these up, but I want to try and get all my chopping done before I get to chopping my meat. And plus, I'm getting withdrawal symptoms because I've run out of beer. So like I said, I'm just finely slicing these onions. Now going back to lemongrass, in India, it's believed that it has therapeutic benefits. In fact, in Brazil, it's used as a tea, and it's believed to help treat anxiety and such like, although there is no evidence really that it actually makes any difference at all. Apparently one study showed it actually had quite an adverse effect on someone's stomach, but I think that was just one case. Right, so that's that chopped. Right, all I need now to do is get a bowl. Let me move that there. Let me move that there. Let me move that there. And then, actually I'm going to move that out of the way as well for a minute. I'm going to get this board. And we're using skinless, boneless chicken fillets. Got a lot in here. And what we want to do is take these, and as usual, there's a lot of crap on these, and we're just going to cut these into sort of bite-sized chunks, as it were. Just chuck them in that bowl, and make sure you've got no bits of bone in there. And we'll be adding a little bit of that paste to that chicken. Ooh, bit of skin and fat on there. We'll just trim that off. Don't want that there, do we? Trying to be healthy. Now, as well as being therapeutic, oh, this chicken's cold. It's also believed to have almost sort of magical or spiritual properties, if you like, and it is used to help conjure spirits and such like in hoodoo. Yes, I said hoodoo. Hoodoo is not voodoo. Okay, it's not an alternative name for voodoo. It is apparently very different from voodoo. Hoodoo is a bit more spiritual, if you like. So I'm just going to finish off chopping this chicken. I'm just trimming some of this dodgier bits off, and then we'll get the marinade, and then we're sort of ready to start cooking everything there. And luckily I've got my beer. Although having said that, I've done too much talking since I poured it. I've not actually had a drink of it yet. I'm going to take some of that paste. I'm going to add like a generous dollop of it. Okay, we do use the rest of this paste when we cook it. And also at this stage, I'm going to add a little bit more of that chicken stock, because what we want to do now is just massage that into that chicken. Now, like I say, we are going to be using the rest of that paste. It's not going to waste. We're just doing like an initial sort of marination, if you like, of the chicken. And actually you can see, well, perhaps you can't in this light, but even though that only had a small amount of turmeric in that, it has gone a little bit yellow. Right, so now we're just going to set that to one side. And then, like I say, all the other ingredients are ready to go. Oh no, what I'll do actually, before we start cooking, I'll make up the sauce. Because that's the paste, but we need a sauce. So in this bowl, I'm going to take some palm sugar. I know this one. I had to buy some because my existing one was a lump, if you like. And it was like rock hard and it was really difficult to get. So bought this in our local Asian supermarket that ain't been open that long. And what I want in here is half a tablespoon of that. Put that on the side in a minute. And then I want some light soy sauce. I want a tablespoon of that. One. And then I want some fish sauce that give it a nice salty flavour. I want a tablespoon of that. Now, you might say, well, there's not much there for a sauce, is there? And that's because we're also going to go back to that chicken stock. And I'm going to add about, he says half a ladle, but I mean that's not a very big ladle, so I'm just adding that amount. Okay, so that's my sauce made. I'm just going to give that a little stir with that, and then we're just going to set that to one side. And we're now ready to start cooking. Oh, I'm telling you about a hoodoo. But let's just jump back a little minute to like lemongrass and citron. Apparently, lemongrass oil imitates a bee pheromone. And so some beekeepers apparently use it as like an attractant for bees. Who knows? So we get some oil, some olive oil, and we just cover the base of our wok with oil, and then we want to whack it on a high heat because we want to get it smoking hot. And when it's smoking hot, we're going to be searing off our chicken. Now, let's go back to hoodoo. This lemongrass oil is used in something known as van oil. Van oil is used to protect against spirits, to spiritually clean a house, bring good luck in love affairs, ward off evil spirits, that sort of thing. So I said to you, hoodoo. What's hoodoo? Hoodoo is not voodoo. Although where the word comes from, some people do say is it a sort of corruption of voodoo, but it's supposedly not. It first appears in the English language in about 1870. I can hear the wife stirring. I think she wants to get in here. So I'll wait for my oil to get hot and I'll tell you a bit more. Right, that's up to temperature now. So now we're just going to put that chicken in there. And what we want to do is essentially brown it all over. Okay, so I've still got the heat up quite high, but we might turn it down in a bit. Okay, that chicken, like I said, was really cold when I was cutting it, so I think that's lowered the temperature of the oil a bit, so we'll keep it on high heat. If not, if the chicken wasn't quite so cold, you might want to turn the heat down a little bit. But anyway, I was saying to you about hoodoo. There is a West African word, hoodoo, or something like hoodoo, H-U-D-U, whereas when I talk about hoodoo, it's spelt like voodoo, but an H instead of a V. But that it could be another origin, apparently, of the word hoodoo. But it appears to be, well, hoodoo is classed as an ethno-religion. Sounds very PC, doesn't it? And a lot of it seems to have originated essentially from black Americans originating from the slave trade, and that this hoodoo was sort of from that sort of culture where the slaves were trying to sort of invoke some sort of protection and some things like that, apparently, against their sort of white slave masters. But it is very much a spiritual religion, if you like, rather than like a black magic one. And the Bible, you know, is a sort of Christian. When I say Christian based, they do sort of use the Bible or parts of the Bible in their sort of spirituality, if you like, in the hoodoo practices, particularly the Book of Psalms, apparently. Anyway, your beer's run out. Now, what we will be putting in there, once we've seared that chicken all over, is the remainder of that paste. Okay, so I'm just going to cook that chicken, get myself yet another beer, because that one went down too quick. Now, I keep forgetting, don't I? English chicken is full of so much bloody water, so this is getting a bit more like a soup in here. I mean, you can see when you look in here how much oil there is and then how much water there is. So it's not perhaps browning as well as we'd like, but it doesn't matter. But you want to make sure your chicken's cooked. Okay, we are going to be cooking for longer. Okay, but generally looking at this and tossing it, most of that chicken looks done. So this is a bit of a steep-sided walk. But what we want to do, and to be honest, I mean, look at this. We just want to put the chicken, if possible, to one side, and then we're going to add into that, in the middle there, the remainder of this paste. And then we just want to cook the paste off a little bit before we then start mixing in the onions and then mixing all the chicken together. Now, what I might do is, got out as much as I can at the moment, but I might use, when I put the sauce in, I might use the sauce just to rinse that out. So I'm just putting that on there, cook that sauce for a little bit. Okay, and then we've got our sliced onions, we're going to be adding that in and cooking them. Now, just to finish off, telling you a little bit more about hoodoo. Like I said, they hold the Bible as probably the most important conjure book in the world. And, you know, like I said, particularly the Psalms, they believe have powers and things like that, and lead them to sort of do the things, if you like, that they believe will do all them things I told you before about, you know, bringing good luck, getting rid of evil spirits, all that sort of thing. So it is much more of a, well, supposedly a good thing rather than like nasty thing. But that doesn't mean to say that under certain circumstances they might not, say, be justified in committing murder if they believe what the person they're murdering deserves it because of what they've done. They don't necessarily believe they're going to get punished for that because it's, well, essentially the Bible says, doesn't it, eye for an eye and things like that. So there you go. Right, that's starting to bubble up. So in goes that onion, and I'm just going to begin with, just get that down into that sauce, cook that for a little bit. It's bubbling nicely now, and then we'll start folding everything over, and we want to cook that onion so it starts wilting, a bit like my insides, because I've not good enough beer inside. So at this point I'm now just going to start sort of turning this all together. So we're just getting the chicken and the onion all mixed together, and then once your onions are, like I say, starting to wilt, they're starting to soften a little bit, now's the time to add in that sauce. Now, like I said, I'm just going to put that sauce into there. I'm going to add a little, I know there's fish sauce in there, but I'm going to add a little pinch of salt to the chicken, and then we're just going to swill that out. That sauce goes in there. If you had turned the heat down, you would now want to turn the heat up, because we want to get that bubbling, and we want to reduce that down quite significantly. Okay, we want to try and get rid of like 90% of that sauce. Okay, so heat up, get it bubbling away, and reduce it down, and then you're going to need the rest of your lime leaves. Now, if you were using fresh leaves, take the stalks off, roll them up, chop them up, and we'll be adding them. And then you're going to want like a generous handful of these Thai basil leaves. Okay, I'm just tearing them off the stalks, typical Jamie style. Right, well, they look a bit black. And then we will be just, that's about it, we'll be tossing them in towards the end. And then of course I've got the chilies to garnish at the end, but I need to reduce that. I think that's going to take a little while. Now I've moved this onto a bigger burner. You can see what's going on here. It is reducing down, but because these are dried leaves, what I'm going to do at this stage is I'm just going to strip the leaves off that stalk, because we don't really want the woody bit in there, and toss that in, just because obviously they're dry, and we're just going to toss all that through. Now I had a little taste earlier. I wouldn't say you get an awful kick of the lemongrass, you don't get the citrusy so much, but despite the fact that there was only one small chilli in there, that's got quite a kick to it, that chilli. So just going to carry on reducing that down, and then like I say, the final thing will be right near the end. We're going to put them basil leaves in. Might reduce the heat a little bit at that point, and then quick garnish with them, and then we can serve it and eat it, because I'm getting hungry. Oh dear, that beer's going down well. Right, you can hear that now bubbling away. That's definitely reduced down a lot. So I'm just going to turn the heat down a little bit, and just going to toss in those basil leaves. I'm just going to toss that through for a minute or two, just to get them sort of cooking, as it were. And then funny bit of chicken, we'll be ready to serve up. Interestingly, by the time you get to see this, I'll have been to Vietnam, assuming all goes to plan. Bloody splashing everywhere, you dirty one. My clean knob. Yeah, I'm off over to Asia, and I'm going to Vietnam. Whether I get any lemongrass chicken while I'm there, I don't know. Right, I think we're almost there. So I've got my dishes ready, I've got my garnish ready. Get rid of this bit, clean this bloody mess off of here, and we can taste it. Right, here we go. Here's our bowl of lemongrass chicken. Bloody hot. You're getting the saltiness from that fish sauce. You are getting a lemony tang to it. You're getting a hit of the chilli, but I'm getting that lemon. Interestingly, when I first tasted it, didn't really get it. When I tasted the sauce, I'm also surprised how much heat I'm getting from that small chilli. Trying to think what other flavours I'm getting. The chicken's cooked alright. But that, very, very nice. There you go. Your Vietnamese lemongrass chicken, courtesy of School of Wok and my wok, granite wok, well, granite coat wok, well, sort of.